back to Lauren's Take. Okay, so I'm trying to film on my iPad rather than my laptop, and y'all are probably just like, girl, why aren't you filming with the camera? Because why not? You know, what's the problem? Anyway, moving on. As I said in my last video, or not in my last video, more so my last video's description, I am doing a review on Secrets of Blackthorn Hall. I'm so excited to be reviewing this. I loved it. It was really great, but let's just dip right into it. Please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the video, as well as check out all the other videos that I posted, and I'm going to get better already. You see, I'm already filming the next video, and it's going to be published by next week. Y'all know. You already know. Okay, so anyway, let's get into it. All right, so the book of the hour, Sandra Clare's Secrets of Blackthorn Hall. As y'all know, this was the first shipment of Seasons of Shadowhunters. I talked about that when I did my video back in August last year. It is already 2025. Turn up. Hoot, hoot. But anyway, I told y'all also in the last video, which was filmed December 26th or so, December 26th, December 27th. Anyway, it was filmed back in December, and I told y'all that I had not read this yet because work and life and all the things. So I had finished the 3 books that I said I was going to finish, and I actually binge read Queen of Air and Darkness, which y'all know is the last book in the Dark Artifices series, because I'm still trying to read all of the Shadowhunters novels again. And after reading Queen of Air and Darkness, quite literally can say confidently that I think it's the best book in the whole series. Like, how I devoured that novel, and it is the longest of them all. It is the longest one. Technically 912 pages, and I finished it in a matter of like 5-6 days. Child. And one night I was up to like 3:40 in the morning. It was me basically reading all of the time period they were in Thule. This essentially, Secrets of Blackthorn Hall, takes place right after all of those events. Well, not right after, more so like about a year after the events of Queen of Air and Darkness. And so I really enjoyed it for that reason, because I had just finished reading Queen of Air and Darkness and I still was obsessed with my Blackthorns. I needed more. And so this book delivered. So as a reminder, this book, just looking at the cover, look at this right here. Remember that you are of the steel and temper of those who have gone before you. Iconic, iconic. Anyway, so then we have Lex Nulla, which is the Blackthorn motto, which is a bad law is not a law. You know, a bad law is no law. But it's really iconic. But now, I was really slow. If you watched my very first video in which I was talking about the mural, Lord, it was a mess. It was a mess. But anyway, here is the mural of all of our characters, pretty much, or really just the Blackthorn family, and Emma's included because, you already know. So anyway, here is Julian right there looking at Emma. There's Emma looking at Julian. Then there's Helen. Down here, Helen and Aline. Oh, they're so cute. Then there's Drew. Love her. Yes, look at her. Here's Arthur. This is their dad and their mom. This is Livy. Oh, Tavi, or Tavi, whatever. And then this is Mark, and that's the whole family. So I got really excited when I finally realized who was who. I don't know why it took me so long. Like, I figured out certain characters in particular, but anyway, we're just moving on. But I was really excited about that. But to remind you all what this one is about. So the cool thing about Secrets of Blackthorn Hall is it's essentially a collection of letters of characters writing to other characters in the whole universe, all right? So for mainly it's Emma. Emma's like our main person writing to people or writing in her diary, basically talking about her and Julian trying to renovate, remodel Blackthorn Hall, which was left to Julian from their aunt who he was with at the beginning of Dark Artifices before he came back to LA. And, you know, Christina and Emma, they were in the Los Angeles Institute and all that good stuff. So they were with this aunt. So she passed away and she left Blackthorn Hall to Julian. So Julian was like, Emma, let's go, like, do it. You know, let's go, redo this wonderful mansion, you know, because that's like our only thing as Blackthorns that we can really claim as our own. And so she was like, okay, cool. So they do that. But of course, when they come to it, it's still very much in the same type of situation that it was in back in Last Hours. Last Hours and Infernal Devices. Because if you know, you should know exactly how that house was left. You should know. And basically the house just fell to fell into disarray. And we know the iconic tale that Will Herondale loves to talk about on a regular basis. So, you know, that's where it is. And we also got a little sneak peek to how it was doing back in Lord of Shadows, actually, where Kit and Ty went there with Livy, I believe, and they were just trying to get some information as they were trying to figure out where the heck was the Black Volume, you know? So, Black Volume of the Dead. So, that is the cool part about Blackthorn Hall. So, we've definitely been introduced to it multiple times, but this is the first time that we've been in it for a long period of time, and that it features as one of the main settings of the story. So, this is where Emma and Julian are. Then they are basically writing to their family members and friends across the world. You know, everyone is kind of in different places at this moment. As we know, at the end of Queen of Air and Darkness, which was so important for me to reread right before I read Secrets of Blackthorn Hall. If you remember, there are multiple, like, main things, like, ended kind of, like, up in the air. Some things were kind of like, oh, okay, this is what's going to happen. And then others were kind of like, what's going to happen with that? So for example, Tessa and Jem, we know that Tessa was pregnant. Tessa has now had the child by the point this story takes place. Her name is Nina, and she's so cute. It just the cool thing also about this book, I'm going to be off topic, y'all, a lot of the time, but the cool thing about this book is that it also has illustrations, and I'll show you one of them. I don't want to show too many because I don't want to get in trouble by Cassie, but this is like one of the really, really cute pictures with Emma and Julian. I was just like, ah! But notice, it's like Tessa saying, Dearest Magnus. So it's essentially them writing letters to different characters. Based off, and it helps to tell the story through the letters that are written, through the diary entries that we read of Emma's, as well as another character that I will get into in just a second when I get into my review. So I really, really enjoyed that kind of aspect of it because I thought this was the one in which we were getting all the short stories, but y'all can keep telling. I keep not, like, paying attention to whatever it was that I read when I first bought the seasons of Shadowhunters. I was just like, I want it all. I know I'm getting 4 books, period. But I wasn't actually, like, really paying, or if I knew, I was confusing them. So when I got them in this and the third, I always knew Secrets of Blackthorn Hall was going to be first. With this one is that it's just simply letters being written. It is not letters and diary entries. It's not necessarily full short stories that we typically get in like Bane Chronicles or Tales from Shadowhunter Academy. So anyway, that's the tea with this one. All right, so coming back real quick because I like went on a tangent and then it finished my thoughts. So remember back in Queen of Air and Darkness, real quick, how everything ended. So Emma and Julian, they're good now. They're able to be a couple without any problems because their parabolic bond has now been severed. Christina, Kieran, and Mark, they are now together. The whole situation is adorable. It's great. They are now living in the cottage that Kieran was able to get as a compromise for him not being able to have human consorts. He is now able to have this cottage where it is not necessarily fairyland. It's not necessarily, or land of fairy, or not necessarily the mortal world. They can now come to this place and be together, which is really cute and really great. Anyway, so that's their love stories situations. Remember also Tessa and Jem, they were expecting, oh my gosh, little Lauren is so happy. But anyway, they had their baby. Her name is Mina. She's the cutest little thing. And I will say that was one of the coolest parts about, again, rereading or reading this is being able to see the illustrations of how everyone is doing and see how some of the characters who were a little younger have grown up a little bit in a year. Talking about you, Ty. Talking about you, Kit. Talking about you, Drew. It was really fun to be able to see that. But anyway, wait, never mind. We didn't get to see Drew. Never mind. We got to see Kit and Ty, but we didn't get to see Drew. But we heard from Drew. Anyway, so that was really cool. We now know Drew is actually at Shadowhunter Academy now. Ty is at the Shalomance, being able to do that after the conversation he had with Magnus and Julian. So that's really great. Kit is now living with Tessa and Jem as their adopted son, which is so exciting. I'm so happy that he has them. And that was just, girl, I was losing my mind. It was so cute. Anything else happening with that? Things are awry in the land of the Shadowhunters, as we know from the end of Queen of Air and Darkness and the stupid cohort and their little situation that they wanted to do, basically pushing out anyone who didn't want to follow along with them, including Alec, who is now consul of the Shadowhunters. So that is like the most infuriating, most frustrating thing that ever happened. But anyway, we're gonna move on. No, we're gonna move on. And so he's having to deal with that. It's a whole thing. They're also having to kind of move everything away from where it originally was in terms of being in Alicante and Idris. So now Tales of Shadowhunter Academy, or Tales of Shadowhunter Academy. Shadowhunter Academy is still on the East Coast. I want to say it was always on the East Coast, but I can't remember for sure. I don't remember if they actually said that. They probably did in Tales from Shadowhunter Academy, but I never fully finished that, so tell me in the comments where it's located. That is one place I just don't know where it's located. Charlemagne's, they're now closer, or Emma and Julian, connected to the whole plot of Secrets of Blackthorn Hall. They're now closer to Ty, so that's the cool part. I'm pretty sure the Charlemagne's is actually in Europe, so that's, yeah. So anyway, that's the situation. I think that's like the main thing. Oh, we also got to talk about Kit, because Kit, we also found out, is the heir of the first heir. Child, you know, Cassie put a lot on us in the end, and that's why it was so exciting to figure that out. But we also know, if you read the epilogue of Queen of Air and Darkness, this is probably one of the most important things that deal with our original Mortal Instruments crew. So Jace from Thule, remember, he's essentially the version of Jace that we could have had if Clary didn't like kind of stab him with Glorious, the sword, back in City of Lost Souls. So in Thule, he's still that version of Jace, and so he somehow gets back to their world, their version of the world, goes to the Land of Fairy, talks to the Queen of the Sealy Court, and basically passes over Ash in hopes to get Clary from our world, which is wild. And it's like, what is happening? And that connects to things that happen in Secrets of Blackthorn Hall. So that's basically where everyone is, all the major things. I'm pretty sure I don't think I forgot anything, but let's get into my review of the book. All right, so when we're thinking about my thoughts on this lovely collection of letters and diary entries, the overall plot, while Emma and Julian are trying to renovate Blackthorn Hall, they discovered that there could be a ghost, and there is a ghost. And so basically the whole time they're asking all the characters different things of how they can try to potentially get rid of the ghost, or try to help the ghost find peace and be able to cross over, all of that good stuff. And so essentially this is how we get to know how everyone is doing, because they're talking about what is happening in Blackthorn Hall. So this is also where we get the crossover between what's happening, what just happened in Dark Artifices, with what happened in the last hours, with what happened in Infernal Devices, all of that. Like, it's basically connecting everything, as well as Mortal Instruments. So that's what I really loved about this novel. Like, Cassie was able to like somehow find a way to incorporate every single thing, but it's also the cool thing when you have two characters, or really three characters from some of those original stories who are able to kind of transcend through them all. So like, for example, Tessa and Jem and Magnus, those three in particular are the ones that were in each realm of the series. Like, each realm of the, so it's really cool that we can have these three characters kind of build, like, be the kind of stream that runs, like, that connects all of these stories together, because they were just around a lot of Carstairs, Herondales, and Blackthorns, and Fairchilds, and Lightwoods, and all of the folks, you know. These are the same people that we keep hearing time and time again. So I think that was what I really enjoyed about this, because we got to see that firsthand. Some other things that I've really loved about this series is we got to see, like, our characters, now that they're happy, you know, kind of dealing with their new lives and everything. It's really cool to be able to see the characters who didn't necessarily have a happy ending, or had an ending that was more so it needs to be left for interpretation, or it's going to be covered in Wicked Power. So aka Ty, Kit, Drew. I think being able to look at those three in particular, because we know those three are going to be our main characters of Wicked Powers, I think it was really great to be able to see what is going on with them through different characters' lenses, right? So thinking about how Emma and Julian, I can't remember if it was Julian who's first said, I'm pretty sure it was Julian, when he was talking to Helen and Aline, or send a letter to Helen and Aline, or specifically Helen probably. I think it was really great that he was saying, you know, Ty is doing okay, but he seems a little withdrawn. And he noticed the same thing with Kit. He was just like, I don't know what's going on with Kit. There's something off with them because they don't talk about each other anymore. And it's kind of weird because they were really, really close. And so we already know why Kit and Ty are kind of in this weird mess, because it's more so the situation of Ty wanting to bring back Livy, even though Kit didn't really want to, but then Kit didn't really tell Ty that he didn't really want to, and then they bring back Livy, and then Livy's now kind of a ghost situation, or she is a ghost. She's now living in between worlds, and that is not necessarily fair to her, but Ty, you know, was really suffering at that time, and then Kit also, like, made it horrible in the end, because remember, he was like, I wish I had never met you, and then that, like, kind of ruined Ty, but then he left after saying that, and I was just like, my dude, what is wrong with you? So they're kind of dealing with that, and no one really knows why, because no one knows that Ty brought Livy back from the dead, and it's one of those things that it's just like, so managing that is really crazy, because it's funny, Julian, Emma, Helen, Aline, no one really knows aside from Magnus. Like, Magnus, quite literally, I'm pretty sure, is the only other character that knows in this version of the story, aside from Kit and Ty and Livy, of course. So I think that in of itself was really cool, how she was kind of talking about that and really setting that storyline up for Wicked Powers using Secrets of Blackthorn Hall. So I really love that. I think when we have all of that, we're dealing with that amidst Emma and Julian trying to get rid of the what was funny is, like, we had the current, or like the present day situations, while also having a connection to Last Hours, in terms of, I'm not going to spoil it, I'm just telling you it has to do with Last Hours, because I don't want to give too much away, but essentially the person who caused there to be a ghost is someone who caused a lot of craziness and havoc in Last Hours, and was essentially taunting a lot of characters in the Last Hours. And then the ghost that they ended up releasing also deals with that character as well. So I think that was like it was really, really crazy, but it was also important for them to, Emma and Julian specifically, to kind of rely on Magnus, Jem, and Tessa, because they're the ones who would have had the insight as to what was actually happening in that realm of life in that time period, and the different people involved and all of that. So I thought that was really well done. It was also really fun, because then it gave us like a little kind of Last Hours, Queen of Air and Darkness, Dark Artifices crossover that we didn't think we would ever somehow get. In terms of just like a lot of the characters that you would not think would have some kind of, I mean, you may get a reference to their name, but it's really cool to see something else, you know, a part of them kind of connected into a present story in which Emma and Julian are like, where are these folks, you know? And it's the same kind of cycle of people, young people having to keep secrets and being able to do things in order to save the world. And I think that was like the kind of cool thing that we got to see in Secrets of Blackthorn Hall. So overall, loved that part. I loved the different things where we would connect to present day situations, and especially we get a little insight into more of what's going on with Kit, and that brought up a whole nother bag of worms. And we also got some situations of like the potential thing with Jace from Thule and his little plan. So that was really cool. I'm not going to spoil what we saw with those two, because those are like major things that I know are going to be probably talked about in Wicked Powers. So I'm very, very, very excited to see how that plays out in the series. But anyway, let me just give a quick, you know, I know I gave a lot more background information instead of review for this one, because I will say you really do need to have some understanding of all of this series in order to read this. Because if you don't, it's very confusing. It's just, there's a lot going on. And I think that's probably why Cassie put it as a part of Seasons of Shadowhunters, because most likely the folks who bought Seasons of Shadowhunters are caught up with all of the books that have been put out. And I'm just glad that I've been rereading all of the books, because even though I had definitely read all of Dark Artifices, I read them back when I was in high school. So I'm now a teacher, graduated college. So it's been a long time. And I will say, I was talking to my mom about this. me as a reader, I have matured tremendously and I understand things a little better now. Maybe it's because I was an English major, I don't know. Or maybe it's because, like, the things that I think about in books is not just simply love story, or it's not just simply characters, it's everything. So, like, I've become such a, like, lover of just plot and all of the different ins and outs of a story. And so I think why I really love Secrets of Blackthorn Hall in particular was Cassie was able to bring all of these different elements of all of the series and all of the stories of Shadowhunters that I love dearly, characters and everything, into this one little 269 or so page, you know, kind of novella, if you will. I would say it's a novel. It's almost the size of a novel. But anyway, I loved it tremendously. So it was so much fun to read. I just, you know, I'm giving it 5 stars. I already gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. And you can also see a very short, very quick understanding of how I felt about the book while going on Goodreads. But I loved every single thing about it. I think it was just perfect in terms of giving us an insight into how our characters are doing. I loved the illustrations so much. There was one in particular with 2 characters that I don't want to spoil because I don't want to have a connection to it, but like there was one picture that I loved in particular that I loved tremendously. I may make another version of the video in which I talk about the spoilers because there are a lot of cool things in here, but I don't want this to be so spoiler heavy. If you hadn't read Queen of Air and Darkness, I don't know where you've been, but if you hadn't and I gave you a spoiler, I apologize. But this was really fun. Alright, so that concludes this video, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a big thumbs up. Don't give it a thumbs down. That's just rude. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And I shall see y'all in the next one. Okay? Bye.